friends, today we are going to see about the other business organizations other than the companies. So we'll start off with sole proprietorship. So there are no other deep confusions about sole proprietorship, so we'll see about only the main points. So first of all, we know what sole proprietorship is that. It is started and authorized completely by a single owner. So the first main detail is that how does the sole proprietor collects his capital? So there are four main ways where a sole proprietor collects his or own needed capital. One is that the sole proprietor can collect his capital by his own savings. The other one is that by obtaining bank loans, by obtaining loans from friends or family, and fourth one is by selling his or her own assets. So this is the first main detail that has to be seen. The other one is that the sole proprietor is not a legal entity, which means a sole proprietorship business is not legally separated, does not have a separate legal personality from the owner. So because of that, a sole proprietorship business is not compulsory to be registered and it is not to be paid taxes, which means corporate taxes are not to be paid, but income taxes, of course, it has to be paid. So these are the main features. And the other one is that it has the sole proprietor has unlimited liability, which means whenever the business bankrupts, the owner has to pay off his debts and the other liabilities by selling off his assets. So these are the main details which has to be seen. The other one is that the registration. So here the registration means whenever I'm starting a new sole proprietor business, whether it could be a grocery store or a pharmaceutical business or maybe a bookshop. So whenever sole proprietorship business is started, it has to be registered only when the name of the business is completely different from my full name. For example, if I'm going to start as Divya Supragasam grocery stores, it's not compulsory for me to register the business. But if I'm going to start as Divya grocery stores, it has to be registered under the Ordinance of Business Name Ordinance number 6 of 1980. So the main question what arises here is that whenever I am registering under this business names ordinance, does that registration gives a separate legal personality to the sole proprietorship? No. By registering under business name ordinance, the sole proprietor does not get a separate legal personality. So if you see about the registration procedure, first of all, the person has to go to the division secretary and meet and should get the application form for the business name registration. And thereafter has to get a report from the Grama Niladhari and just to say this person from this address is going to start a business in this name in this address. And by filling the application form and getting the report from the Grama Niladhari, both should be submitted to the divisional secretariat along with the registration fee. Thereafter, whenever the divisional secretariat goes off through all the documents, he will give the certificate. That could be placed at the sole proprietor location, and that's how the sole proprietorship works. So now we'll see about the partnerships. So whatever the business organizations we take, we have to know the general features, advantages and the disadvantages. So in this video, we are only focusing on the main confusions or main topics that could be confused by the students. So if you see here, first of all, we're going to see about a partnership is generally started the relationship between the individuals with a profit motive. So there are going to be individuals in a partnership, they're going to engage in a business activity, they're going to have a mutual relationships and they're going to focus with a profit motive. So those are the basic features of a partnership. So the first detail what we are going to see is that the partnership agreement. So whenever a partnership business is started, there has to be a partnership agreement with among the partners. So that partnership agreement could be a written agreement, or else could be a oral agreement, or else could be a agreement by conduct. So here, what does the prevention of fraud ordinance says is that whenever the capital invested by the partners is more than rupees 1,000, there has to be a written agreement. So by the reality, Of course, the partnership business is started by the written agreement. So the written agreement started by the partnership is called as partnership deed. So in a partnership deed, all the required details of the entire partnership is going to be there. Like what's the objective of the partnership, what's the personal details of the partners, how the capital is invested, how the profit or loss is going to be distributors, how about the drawings, how about the additional capital, how about the capital interest, how about the salary. That sort of all single details that's going to be included in the partnership deed. So other than that, if there is a situation where there is no partnership agreement, or if there's a situation where a particular detail is missed from a partnership deed, that's where a partnership ordinance 1890 comes into act. So now we're going to see what's the section number 24 of Partnership Ordinance 1896. So it says that the capital and the profits and loss of the partners are to be shared equally. And the drawings, what it says about the drawings is that whenever a partner takes money from the business, he or she has to reimburse to the business back again. And whenever a partner gives additional capital as a loan, 5% interest should be paid by the partnership business to the partner. And there are no interest on the initial capital, and there are no any salaries given to the partners whenever they work for the business. And every partner has a right in participating in the management and when the decisions. Whenever a new partner is to be introduced to the partnership business, at that moment all the partners who are existing in that partnership has to approve it. And other than that, whenever a managerial decisions are taken, at that moment more than 50% of the partnership partners has to approve it. And the books of accounts, all the books of accounts has to be kept at the main head office of the partnership business, and all the partners have the right to look on and to check on to the books of accounts of the partnership business. So the other main sections that has to be seen about the partnership is that generally, as I said before, the features, advantages and the disadvantages. So there are no other main confusions in that. But if you see about the features, the Companies Act number 7 of 2007 says that any partnership has to be from 2 to 20 partners only. And the registration, if you see, is same as the procedure for a sole proprietorship. So if there are two partners like and Mala to be starting a partnership business, it has to be in their full names. If it's not, it has to be registered under Business Names Ordinance number 6 of 1980. And there's a main question that would be asked several times, that what are the main laws that are affecting partnership business. So these are the three: the Prevention of Fraud Ordinance, the Companies Act number 7 of 2007, which says that the partnership has to have 2 to 20 partners only, and the Partnership Ordinance number 1890. So these are the main laws which affect the partnership business. So now we are going to see about the cooperative societies. So what's a cooperative society? How does it differ from the other partnerships or sole proprietorship is that here this works for a common expectation. This does not work for anyone's personal expectations, whereas it's a democratically voluntarily controlled business organization. So if we see the main features of a cooperative society is that they are democratically and independently controlled by a group of members, where it works for the betterments of the society which it belongs to and for its members. And it has collective ownership, where though it is controlled and the operations are inspected by a certain number of people as managers, if it comes to the aspect of ownership, it is collectively owned, whereas each and every member is an owner. And they have the common needs and expectations, and there is democracy, whereas one vote, one person, no matter how much they have put as capital or maybe as bought the shares bought as shares at the cooperative society, one vote, one person counts as one vote only. And basically one share is seen as 100 rupees, and the surplus distribution as it is not profit motive, the surplus which is obtained by the end of the particular accounting year by the cooperative society is distributed for the amount of number of transactions which are done by each and every member. So if one member has done a lot of transactions, that member gets a lot of surplus from that particular accounting year. That is known as contributed reimbursement. So these are the main features which are included in a cooperative society, and the other one is that there are 7 cooperative policies which are which controls the cooperative society. This has been regulated by the 1995 General Assembly of the International Cooperative Alliance. So these are the main 7 cooperative policies which are generally mainly which are controlling the cooperative society. So now we'll see about the other main sections that has to be focused under cooperative societies. One is the advantages. So basically we see the advantages as they are started with mutual concerns with common expectations. So that's an advantage. And it could be easily started, as it could be, if there are more than 10 persons, it could be easily initiated. And there is an existence of democratic control, and whatever the goods and services which are provided by cooperative societies are obtained for a concessionary price, which is at a reasonable price. And as said before, the contributor reimbursement is also an advantage of a cooperative society. And also the ability to engage in different types of economic activity is also an advantage of cooperative society. And if you see the disadvantages, which means the limitations, it has limited fundraising options are only available for a cooperative society, and they're restricted to the cooperative policies where they cannot go beyond the policies which are imposed by the General Assembly at the Cooperative Alliance. And the public sector interference is there, and there are no credit sales taking place at the disadvantage, which reduces the amount of transactions conducted at a cooperative society. So these are the limitations, general limitations present. And if you see the recent trends and the proposals that could be presented is that recently they are into different sort of economic activities, like they are into cooperative insurance, fuel filling stations. Those are the approaches of new business fields, and there are commencement of modified self-service outlets. Like they are into cooperative cities, cooperative supers. Like they are into competition of like the uh, biggest outlet chains like John Keel's and Cargill's. And also they have electronic payment systems and operation of mobile payment systems. These are like the new trends. So other than that, this is not enough right now. There should be other more proposals that should be given, because they have to extend their business hours, which are not at all present right now. And the management which are rendering their services has to be much more efficient and effective. So if you see, there are much more proposals given into that. So this has to be focused. And the other main difficult section in the cooperative society is the registration. So basically, the registration of cooperative society happens according to the Act number 5 of 1972 of the cooperative societies. So this should be done. More than 10 members could start cooperative societies. They should be more than age number 18. And this could be started as going to the Cooperative Development Commissioner in the Provincial Council, and they should submit 6 main documents, and they can obtain the certificate for the cooperative societies. So the 6 main documents are which: an application form to start, then the 2 copies of the interim constitution, which is Act number 5 of 1972, that's the constitution, and the feasibility report. They are going to start how far this is the economic activity they are going to start is feasible, and how far it is efficient and effective. And the minutes of the general meeting, how they came across this meeting, and what are the matters spoken at that meeting, that minutes of that meeting, and the certificate ascertaining that all those who have signed the application form have paid the membership fee, which is the rupees 100 one share. The membership fee and the share prices are paid by those who have come across to start this cooperative society, and a roadmap giving the directions to the address of the society. So these are the basic 6 documents should be given, and that's how a cooperative society could be started. So the main control is done by the Cooperative Development Commissioner for a cooperative society. Now we'll see about the frequently asked questions in these sections. We have does business name ordinance give legal personality to the partner, to any sort of partnership or sole proprietorship business? Actually, no. It is just registered to make sure that this business name belongs to this person. It does not give any kind of separate legal existence to the particular business name. Next we have the types of partners. Actually, the types of partners is sort of additional information, but still we have some questions asked from our past papers. So if we say the sleeping partner, we have another name called dormant partner. So sleeping partner, people doesn't know that he is a partner in this particular partnership business, and also does not even engage in the partnership business activities. Next we have the silent partner. Silent partner will engage in the business activities silently, so people won't know that he is a partner in the partnership business. Next we have the active partner. He is a sort of representative of the partnership business, so he is like prioritized whenever the partnership profits are shared. Then we have the limited partner. Limited partners are not present in Sri Lanka because limited partnerships are not there in Sri Lanka. Limited partnership means the partners do have limited liabilities in the partnership business, so it is not present in Sri Lanka, because whatever the partnerships are started with unlimited liability. Then we have the partner in profits only. Partner in profits only means the partner gives capital, and he or she will only get the profits and not at all sharing the losses. Next we have the nominal partner. Nominal partner does not give a lot of financial support to the business. He or she is like the good name, the reputation is given as the capital to the business, to the partnership. That's what the main capital of the nominal partner given. So that's about the nominal partner. Next we have the quasi partner. Quasi partner means who are the partners who have given the capital as a loan are known as the quasi partners. Next we have the difference between the dissolution of partnership business and dissolution of partnership. This means whenever a partnership business, the complete business is being closed, is known as dissolution of partnership business. But dissolution of partnership means whenever a new partner is introduced, whenever the existing partner is removed, or whenever there are changes in the partnership agreement, the partnership deed is known as a dissolution of partnership. So this is the difference between dissolution of partnership business and dissolution of partnership. Next we have who is the national controller of all cooperative societies. So it's the National Cooperative Council of Sri Lanka is the national controller of all cooperative societies which are run at Sri Lanka. Next, I have included some questions that could be tried by the students, some sort of different types of questions. So this is the new type of questions which could be asked in the upcoming papers in A levels. So better you all try these questions and see. If there are any doubts, just let me know in the comment section below. We'll get to know about the other sections which are included in the 4th chapter in the upcoming videos. Thank you.